Well, welcome back. What we're going to do is to spend the next 5 hours, just kidding, we're going to spend the next time from here to lunch talking about networking and talking about wireless. So without going too deep into 101, because Rob Lloyd with Extreme has taken time out of his busy day to come here and talk about the Extreme Data Networking portfolio. I'll just go ahead and hand it off to Rob.
Great, thank you, Pete.
Yeah.
So, good morning, everyone. Hey, just out of curiosity, show of hands, how many people have been in the worked in the IT industry less than 3 years? So, wow, okay. How many have worked here more than 5 years in the IT industry? Okay, so good, a little bit of a mix there. So, I have to tell you, it's really, so I've been in the industry a little over 20 years, and it's a weird time in the industry right now, in the networking industry, because of IoT, everybody wanting to bring their devices to work and use and access systems from home, and then you have all the security threats. So a lot of the security threats are happening on the edge right now. And it's just a very strange time. The companies out there today want, the user demand is like way up here. When you pull out your phone and pull up an app, you want it that fast and you want it to work. And if it doesn't, you close it and you restart it or you go to a different thing. So the expectation level from a user perspective is just going off the chart, right? So it's it really is a phenomenal time, and for people that have been in the industry for a long time, it's wild to watch it all kind of unfolding in front of us. So what I'm going to do is at a very high level. So I don't think I'm going to lose anyone here. This is a slide deck that is geared for the distribution sales team here. I manage. So a little bit about me. I've been with Extreme almost a year. I used to work for Mitel. Don't hold that against me though. So I manage ScanSource on behalf of Extreme Networks. I'm based here in Greenville, and so I'm gonna go through the market, what's happening out there. I'm gonna talk a little bit about our product line and a brief overview on our product categories, and then I'm gonna pepper in there how we work with Avaya, especially IP Office. And then I'm just going to wrap it up with some of the partner programs that we have going on. How many are partners? How many actually work for a Avaya partner? Okay, great. And the rest of y'all work at ScanSource? Cool. All right. So digital transformation, I saw a little bit of Pete's presentation. I know you guys are touching on this, but this is everything right now. So it's on the top 3 in every CIO and CEO's to-do list this year. So essentially that is, how we equate it at Extreme is digital transformation means giving customers a better experience. So, we as a company are going through digital transformations, automating our systems, making our networks faster so we can give ScanSource better experience. So ScanSource can turn around and give their partners a better experience with Extreme, so that their partners can go to their customers to give them a better experience, and ultimately want the customers to give their customers a better experience. So, and it all has to do with being able to go faster and adapt to business challenges out there. And I put 2 examples up here, but this list can go on and on. I was so happy the day that Blockbuster bit the dust. I don't know about you guys, and Netflix took them out. But that was a company that couldn't make the change, right? They couldn't make the turn. Toys R Us, they just can't compete with Amazon and the online strategies from Walmart and all these other guys. And of course, Uber, the biggest car company on the planet that doesn't own a single vehicle. So these are all companies. Those 2 are companies that have been able to make the digital transformation. So, a lot of this ties into the phone system. So I was thinking about this presentation when I got the invitation. And so again, I used to work for Mitel, and quality of service was big, right? So the user experience, when they pick up the phone, they have that call or they have a conference call, they want clarity, they want a great quality of service every time, right? So the network is very important to that, and I think Avaya got understood that very early on, and that's why they put so much work into their fabric switching, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And we're very fortunate to have acquired those products because at Extreme, we were refreshing that product line, and then we had a chance to acquire the Avaya products, and it was just jackpot because they were just ahead of, they are two years in front of our competitors with those products. And again, I'm going to go into that, but you know, there's a lot going on that could interfere with the quality of service on those phones. You know, there is just a ton of IoT devices coming into any given vertical. You know, the other thing is you just have a lot of networks have not been refreshed. You got a lot of older technology out there, so there's a lot of things that impact quality of service on phone systems, and I think we have some good answers for that. So this is kind of what we, you know, our objective is to drive digital transformation, right? So these are some of the IT initiatives enabling bring your own device, securing the infrastructure, moving to the cloud. This is some of the outcomes that most companies want to get customers to buy more. That's ultimately what most companies want, is to increase revenue or margins. They want to increase loyalty and customer satisfaction. Most companies understand that if I can make customers happy, they're going to buy more and they're going to stay, right? So, and a lot of this comes down to how can I leverage my network and my IT to deliver these better results? So, and that's where we think we play a really critical role in the industry right now, because we have designed an adaptive, agile, and secure network from the core data center to the wireless edge. So just a quick slide, who's Extreme Networks, in case you're not familiar with us. Been around for 20 years, pioneer in the networking space. You know, we're a global company, over $1 billion in sales. I've been watching Extreme on the sidelines for years, and I'm really excited to be here because I really think that Extreme has a unique position in the market, and I'll show you why in a second. But you know, we're working on an Avaya bundle. I can tell you that right now. There was some interoperability between the campus fabric switching products and the phones, and I'm going to share that with you. But I think that Avaya and Extreme share a little bit in common in that we're kind of the underdogs. A little bit, we have great technology, but there's a ton of market share out there to be had, right? So this is our story. 5 years ago, we were number 13 in the enterprise networking space. We're number 3 today. You know, our goal is to continue to take market share not only from HP and Cisco, but you know, the other companies here. I think that we're in a great space because a lot of these other companies below us, 4 through 12 now, offer a piece of the network. They offer solutions and a piece of the network. They make wireless products, they make access points, or they make a data center product, or they make a switch, but they don't cover they don't give companies a single pane of glass to manage their entire network.
You all own Zebra?
Sorry?
You all own Zebra?
We bought their Wing division,
Oh, it's wireless.
the wireless portion, and we bought Avaya's networking products. Yeah. So one of the biggest differentiators for us in the market is all of our customer service is 100% insourced. This is a huge differentiator for us in the networking space. The average tenure on a team is over 10 years. First person resolution rate is 95%. This is a huge deal in our industry because how many times have you called for technical support, you're trying to get something working, and you get to the point where you have to talk to somebody, which nobody likes to pick up the phone, right? So you call that person, and the last thing you want to do is explain yourself for 20 minutes and go, you know, I can't fix your problem, but Tom can, and then let me get you over to him, and then you have to explain your problem all over again. Well, in the networking industry, first of all, you know, with companies reducing their IT staffs, people just don't have the time, right? They don't have the time, and the products are getting more and more complex, and the network space is getting more complex. So you want to be able to call somebody, and you don't want to get transferred. And it might not be the first call resolution, but you're going to work with that person to the issues resolved. So there's a ton of coverage on our support out there. The only one I'll touch on is So the Net Promoter Score is, this is a score used by Fortune 1000 companies on the planet. So it's a 1 to 10 or a 0 to 10. How likely, with a simple question, how likely are you to recommend this brand to a colleague or friend? 10 very likely and so forth. So some of the other players in the space, you can see where our competitors are, 3, 4, and 5, 5. Extreme's an 8, 5. There's only one other company on the planet with a higher score than us, and that's Harley-Davidson. If we can get one of y'all to tattoo your, Extreme on your arm, that would be great. We recently made it into the Gartner Leader Quadrant. That happened last week. We have been, you can see the, you can see the projection over the last couple of years. We've been moving up and to the right. Let me explain this to you. So if you're new to the industry, you're gonna get to know this quadrant very well, this report. So Gartner is one of the industry leading analysts, and they do this magic quadrant for just about every technology in the market, right? And across the bottom is completeness of vision, and across the left axis is ability to execute. You want to be in the top right? So we've been moving this way as we've gone through time, but I have to tell you that what's really challenging for companies is to move that way, get over $1 billion, and still have, be high on this the loyalty, because you really have to have it all together. You have to have a customer support center in line. You have to have your sales teams and marketing. Everyone's really got to be in lockstep. So I'll also make a comment that we heard the news that Gartner reported that this report in particular it had over almost 13,000 downloads on day one, which is the second highest in Gartner's history. I don't think that's a testament to Extreme. It's a testament to where the networking industry is. A lot of people out there are looking to refresh their networks, to go faster, to get better quality of service, to secure their networks, and this is just such a great time to be in the networking space. So that's where we are compared to our competitors. There's a ton of industry analyst coverage on our products. This was a survey done last year. Gartner interviewed IT directors and managers, on pricing and flexibility, ease of deployment, service and support, timeliness of vendor response. Out of a 5, we were a 4.9, and then you could see Cisco and HP there. But there's a lot of industry coverage if you're interested. This is my last slide on who's Extreme. So everyone's got the logo slide, right? Every time you ever see a vendor presentation, you're going to see a logo slide. The interesting about ours is we're in 50% of the Fortune 50 companies on the planet, so that it's the largest of the large. So that really is a battleground. I mean, to go into a Walmart or some large enterprise, your products really have to really pass the litmus test. So through this, I peppered in a couple examples of some wins. So I don't want to steal too much from that slide, but. So last year we made three acquisitions: Avaya, Brocade, and Zebra. And it really is. We were very fortunate to buy these solutions, and we feel like we've got a best of class solution now across the network. So here's how we look at things. So from a network perspective, there's 3 pieces. I'm only going to go, So there's the edge, right? We all know what the edge is. The edge is the access, where all the access comes. That's where IoT devices, that's where you're trying to connect to the Wi-Fi in this room. The access points are connecting to switches, which goes back to a server room. So there's the edge. Some of the campus products that we acquired from Avaya sit there. We're going to talk about them. And as you move back one layer, then there's the campus products. Those are mainly switching products. And then you get to the data center where you have routers and some more high-end switching. And then overarching all of this is applications. So we make a suite of management products that help you manage your network from one single pane of glass. So I wanted to give you guys, I know there's a lot of new guys in here to networking, so I wanted to give you the clearest picture I could of what a network looks like to us, a typical topography. So You have your data center products, right? And these are typically intelligent switches, intelligent routers, and then you have your campus products like your switches, and then you have your access points and your edge. And here are the products that we acquired from Avaya. Again, the fabric product was years in front of our competitors. I'm gonna slow down and walk you through that and what that actually means. And then on top of this, we have our software and services, and of course, 100% GTAC customer assistance. So we're going to start with Smart Edge. So I only have a few slides in each. I'm not going to bore you with like 40 slides. What I did is I ripped this thing apart and I shrunk it down just to stuff that is really what you need to know and have an intelligent conversation about the industry when you're talking to people, or understand how the phones fit into the big grand scheme of things. So again, an IoT explosion, we talked about that. 75% of the devices that connect to the network connect wirelessly. Increased network attacks. So this is huge right now in the market. So a lot of viruses. I don't know if you all heard about the WannaCry virus, but that was a virus that came into a network in a hospital in Scandinavia through an IoT device. It was actually a blood pump machine, a lot of these viruses are starting with physical cameras through phones. One of the things that, people would ask me at Mitel, well, why do I need to? Can I just upgrade my PBX switch? I don't need to update my phones. I've got IP phones. It's like, well, wait a minute. A lot of security enhancements have been made to these phones over the last couple of years. So you could leave a big hole in your network by leaving these older IP phones. So that's a reason that you guys should tout for refreshing the IP phones. And again, this thing is driving a lot of it. Everybody wants to pull out their device and go faster. Even if you're on your PC and you pull up an app, you want to go fast. And what's the first thing that you say when somebody goes like this and they go, oh, I can't get on? The first thing somebody says is the network is slow. It's like, it may be, it may not be. So we refer to the edge as our smart Omni Edge. So, and I'll refer to it throughout the presentation. So I wanted to just stop for a minute and explain what that is. So the edge to us can be wired or wireless devices. So they could be access points. Those access points connect to switches. And those switches many times connect back to switches or routers. So these are edge switching, wireless APs, and other software and services. So what's new to Extreme is our automated intelligence and machine learning. So what that is you have all these devices. Christmas is going to come up, right? And everyone's going to get the new iPad or the new iPhone for Christmas, and they're going to go to work the next day. And there used to be a time 10 years ago when I can remember a time 10, 15 years ago where you would come to work with an iPhone and tell your IT department, I want to use this phone. And they'd go, you want to use that phone? Well, we need it. We got to provision it. And they would have to provision it. Now, a lot of this stuff is, artificial intelligence. It's automated. So at a policy level, you can set what you want to do with phones. So for instance, with this building, when you all walked in the lobby, you could set policy based on unknown devices. So all these unknown devices can have internet access, okay? It can have Wi-Fi. And then people like Tom or me, I'm on a different network when I come in. I'm not on a guest network, right? So you can partition devices by policy. And you can, the other thing is the system is learning. When it's constantly monitoring the network, taking data, seeing where things are slowing down and speeding up or need to be sped up, and it's always feeding this information back to the network and making adjustments on the fly, and giving IT managers real-time alerts. We have Extreme Cloud Appliance. That's essentially appliances with cloud-like software subscription licensing and management. And we have edge switching, which we talked a little bit about. Our edge switching, when we talk about extended edge switching, it's the fabric switching. And one of the advantages to fabric switching is it collapses multiple levels. So if you looked at a typical network topography, there could be a lot of jumps between switches for whatever reason. So with campus fabric switching, you're able to collapse multiple layers of the network and essentially make things go faster. Defender IoT, this is our wired and wireless security product. Gives IT managers visibility of the traffic that's happening over your network. And this is a significant product for us as we move into the end of the year. So for us, for the edge and for IT devices coming onto the edge, it's simple, secure, and intelligent. Right? Zero-touch provisioning, auto-attach for users and devices. You can set that by policy. And then 100% visibility to the network and the devices and applications happening on the network. So for each one of these categories, we have extreme management that gives you oversight to the products and the users and the applications. So I'll give you a real-world example of this. In a hospital environment, you may have, you're going to want to have patients in their beds. Let me ask you a question. Do you want to give patients in their beds access to YouTube and Facebook?
Yes.
Yes, because that impacts customer rating scores for the hospital, and they actually receive money based on these rating scores. So you absolutely want to give the patients in the bed, the people in the lobby, full throttle access to this. Do you want to give the nurses access to Facebook at the nursing station? No. So you can control, this is the type of application level you can control through our products. So here's some of the more popular wireless devices out there. We make just a wireless device for everything you could possibly imagine. We make wireless devices with cameras in them. These are popular in schools. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but when you walk down a hallway, it's sitting in the middle of the hallway, and that, for compliancy, for security, there's a ton of reasons why you want to buy these. These are really super hot, not only in schools, but retail. You think about all these retail environments. They want to give their customers access to Wi-Fi. Maybe they want to make sure, to reduce employee theft. They're able to monitor employees, and again, back to compliance. Maybe there's a compliance reason why they need a camera on something. We make rugged outdoor Wi-Fi for large campus environments. We make a wireless access point for just about everything. This is the wing line that we mentioned from Zebra. I pulled out just a couple interesting pieces, just so y'all are aware of these. But one of our features in our access points is triangulation, extreme location, and basically it's being able to use the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth in your phone to triangulate where you are in an environment. So Walmart is one of our biggest customers. When you walk into a store, they can tell who walks up to where, what end cap, how long you waited, if you bought it, if you actually took that, and what the ratio is to people that stood in front of that end cap to purchase it at the register. If you're a Walmart customer, it can, if you stand in front of that end cap, we can push an alert to you to buy those tires or get $10 off those tires on the rack. So this is extremely important for stadiums. We have a significant market share in stadiums. We're the official Wi-Fi and analytics provider of the NFL. So the NFL loves this. They could tell where their customers are going in the stadium. Because ultimately the NFL, and like any other stadium, their end game is to sell you more stuff. It's a huge tool for them. Again, role-based policy management is another important thing for access points when you're trying to bring devices onto the network. I mentioned this. We have 21 and 31 stadiums. We just did the Tampa Stadium. We've done the last 5 Super Bowls, and we'll do the next 2. They're the most connected event in mankind history. I don't know if you guys, anybody ever been to a Super Bowl? I went to one 10 years ago, and my friend said, well, we'll call, and I'll call you, and we'll coordinate where we are. You can't use your cell phone 10 years ago in a stadium. So we brought walkie-talkies with us and communicated. Now, everyone jumps onto the Wi-Fi so they can upload to Facebook and so forth. So, people say, well, that's a really cute story. It's like, it's more than cute because that's about the toughest environment for Wi-Fi. There's a lot of things that interrupt Wi-Fi signals, the biggest one being water. Humans are made of 75% water, so when you put 65,000 humans in a stadium and they all want access with their phones doing this, it's not an easy place to provide Wi-Fi. But again, we're the selected supplier for the NFL. So I want to talk a little bit about how we interoperate with Avaya specifically. So in our switch lineup, you can see the fabric switches from Avaya. And by the way, I don't expect you guys to remember all of our switches. If you remember anything from my presentation, you can always reach our engineers at extremese@scansource.com, or you can reach our team at extremenetworks@scansource.com. So we have some great engineers. One of our engineers is Tom Elks. I don't know if anyone knows that name, but Tom's been with ScanSource for a long time. He was on the Avaya side, so he really does champion the Avaya fabric products for us. So are you familiar with this? Mm-hmm. Do you want to speak to this a little bit? I could, but I don't want to.
So when we first came out, a little bit of history. First off, is that before we bought Nortel, and I don't know if that'll make sense to some of you, we sold Extreme. So Avaya sold Extreme. We sold a lot of it. I made a lot of money doing that. But then when we bought Nortel, which Nortel was a global provider of communications and data systems as well as voice systems, we had this huge number one or number two data product line, from Nortel, and we stopped selling Extreme. They became a competitor of ours. And there's this funny thing through history that these type of things happen. But part of that portfolio was the Ethernet routing portfolio, the ERS product, and we had, small edge switches, medium edge switches, and larger edge switches, and that would be 35, 36, 4900 series switches. And what they did is they put the secret sauce in the switch. And what that secret sauce was is that if you were a provider of communications equipment like, a business partner is, you either have data knowledge or no data knowledge. You can do phone systems, you're good with phone systems, but you call in a friend to do the network, or the customer has their own network already and we integrate to the network. But if you had to do the phone system and the network, you'd have the telephone guy that does the phone system, then you'd call in your data guy to do the data system, and it'd either take two guys or it would take two companies to do it. By putting the secret sauce into these switches, we were able to run a command line on our data switches that would basically go in and set up the IP office. It would set up the trunks, the stations, and kind of get everything going and integrate to the switch. It was, what was the command? Run IP office?
Run IP office.
Yeah. And it made it very easy for SME business partners to roll out both voice and data, because again, they didn't have a very big skill set, when it came to these type of things.
Type run IP office.
So basically, you have the IP office telephones, then you have the IP office gateway. Remember, we have access, system, server, and devices. So by plugging this IP office into this switch and these phones into this switch, and then you would go in the command line, and I don't know how that'll show up on video, but it would go through and set up all the phones in the system. Now, was there more that you had to do if there's specialized routing, if there's much more than just a plain phone system? Yeah. But it would literally save business partners hours of implementation by integrating our systems with our switches. And you'll hear Avaya on Avaya. Now it's Extreme on Avaya. Before we sold Extreme, we were doing, co-development. We stopped selling it, and now we sold them our whole data product portfolio again, and now we're going to be doing some more development together. So it's a good news story.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So again, plug and play for the phones as well here.
I did want to ask a question because I didn't go through some 101 slides, and this is just kind of interesting. Has anybody ever installed a data switch before? Data system? You mean you haven't put on your tool belt and, okay, have you ever installed a wireless thing, that, people walk in and the wireless thing?
Access point?
Access point. Have you ever installed a router before? You've installed a wrong one. Have you ever installed a router before? You have. Okay, well, good. Well, my point is that in your home, when you went to Best Buy and you bought a thing because your thing at home didn't work anymore, and you brought your thing home and you plugged it in, and you have wireless in your apartment or your house, that is a router, that is a switch, and it's kind of an access point for your devices. So even though you don't think you're into data, your home a lot of times is a good test point for the things that we talk about here, because you do give your guests access to your wireless because you tell them what the guest access is, right? And it's going to route out, so you got the router. And if you plug your PC that you have into the ports, then you've basically covered his whole product line from a micro aspect, right? And so it's not a mystery. You all do it, and you're okay with it. You might want to, as we roll out to small business, be able to relate those type of things. And then as you go up the tier, it gets a little bit more complicated with higher levels of security and things of that nature. So we don't want to overcomplicate what we do here, because you already do it. You just now have to take it to another level. Yep. That's my point.
Good stuff. I'm not going to go into a lot of this stuff. This was in the deck previously. I don't know if you want to touch on it, Pete, here, but more on the ERS.
The ER. There's two product lines that you'll basically sell. This one, if you're in the SME or mid-market, this one in the 4800 series, I think, is the next one.
Yeah.
You'll either have let's say, for instance, I'm going to stick with analog and digital phones. I'm not going to go to IP phones because I don't like all that IP stuff, Or I have digital phones and analog phones and I don't want to go to IP yet. But I want to buy data networking because I got to plug my PCs in and, and get better data networks. So you either have, when you see power, PWR, the switch either has power or not power. Power to run an IP phone, power to run a wireless access point, power to run a camera, okay? So, Mr. Customer, do you need power, yes or no? In most cases, people will say, yeah, let's go ahead and do, a PoE switch, power over Ethernet switch. Or in some cases, you don't, because what I'm getting ready to plug into it doesn't need any power, and I don't need to spend the extra money for that power, all right? And then this product line has a fan or no fan. You say, okay, big deal. Well, not everybody has that. So if I have a classroom in a school system and I've got a switch so I can power up the telephones or the devices in that room, do I want a fan running in the background? Well, why do I need a fan to begin with? When you start plugging in access points and cameras and things like that, the electronics heat up. So we have the ability to run fans or not run fans, and that's the difference between buying like a Netgear at Best Buy and buying an enterprise-grade small Ethernet switch, because you'll say to me, why is the Extreme switch more expensive than the XYZ switch that my customer says that they can buy down at Best Buy? Well, because they can't network them together, fan or no fan, power over Ethernet or no power over Ethernet. There's a feature set that you get when you buy an enterprise class switch, plus the maintenance that can go along with it and the support. So,
many times, we get brought in from a reseller to put a switch in. well, they're looking at Linksys or looking at something less expensive, but then when you start asking them, what do you want to do and what do you want to plug into it, and then you realize that before you were comparing apples and oranges, their switch wasn't going to give you what you needed to do anyways, and many times we're very price competitive. We make entry-level products. Our products scale very small to very large. We've got everything in between. This is the 36 and then the 48 port, or the 4900 series, sorry. One thing I want to tell you about the Avaya products, when we brought some of the switches in, the part number changed slightly. They use Avaya bundled power cords in with their switches. We don't, so we don't have power cords, so you have to add them separately. Our engineers and ScanSource team knows about that, but I just want to make you guys aware of it. So this is my slide. Do you know?
Well, we haven't talked about this because we didn't get that far into the presentation before this. And this is my leaving money on the table thing. Okay, so if you're a salesperson and you're walking into a business and you're selling them a data system along with a phone system, or a data system and no phone system, or a phone system and no data system, you're sitting down in front of the customer and the customer's getting ready to write you a check. But have you asked them, you know, does the customer need a wireless network? Well, all he talked about was Ethernet switches. Well, what are you doing with wireless? How do your vendors walk into your building? You know, what are you doing for that wireless printer? You know, things like that. Do you need wiring? Do you need UPSs? Do you need other products? And if you're not asking those questions that are pertinent to what we install, they're going to go buy their UPS someplace else. They're going to buy their wireless someplace else. They're going to buy their patch cord someplace else. You don't want to leave money on the table. It's not that you're robbing them of money. It's money that they are willing to pay because they're going to have to pay somebody else for it, right? So that's as we go through the next day and a half, at the end of each presentation, we're going to ask, you know, can Catalyst help you with implementation?
Yes.
You know,
yeah.
Can Catalyst do a wireless survey for your customer? Those are things that some people aren't good at with data networking. You know, wireless is kind of voodoo science when it comes to will it work in this room or will it work in that room or not, and they can do those wireless surveys for you.
Yeah, so I'll add two things onto that because we do our trainings, we tell people this. So when you're talking to any customer, ask them, you know, what surprises a lot of people is you'll go to your customer site, you'll be in their lobby, they have Wi-Fi, so you're like, well, they don't need Wi-Fi. But 9 times out of 10, if you ask them, you happy with your Wi-Fi or do you need anything on the Wi-Fi side, you'll get this response. You know, I think we've maxed out our APs. I think we do need that, and there's some parts of the building that we can't get coverage in, we need coverage in. Almost always you'll get that kind of response. At Catalyst, ScanSource Catalyst, they do site surveys. We give partners, sometimes we give them promo credits towards site surveys to help there, depending on the opportunity. The other thing I'll tell you is 5 years ago, you know, the customer used to have someone switch over here. They'd have an HP switch, let's say, or a Cisco switch or whatever, a Meraki switch. And then over here, they'd have a Ruckus access point, you know, different systems. Well, networking managers more and more have more things to manage. There's less IT guys on the street right now. So they really don't want to manage these systems separately anymore. They want one pane of glass from the data center to the edge and manage from that way, preferably. So 5 years ago, it was okay, you know, not to ask, you know, so our step one is to ask, are you okay with wireless? And if you do get the wireless sale, you should ask for the switch sale. So know that every access point plugs into a switch, and ask for the switch, because who's ever selling them that switch is going to try to get the access point sale. So you should know that. But if you bring Extreme in, especially with ScanSource, we can help you to get that done, sell that story. So automated campus. So again, it's the same kind of challenges: security, BYOD, internet. It's the same thing, in a similar simple, secure, and intelligent story. But I want to stop here for a minute. The Fabric Connect products are the Avaya products. And again, through Extreme Management Center, you can manage all of those from one single pane of glass. So I wanted to stop for a minute and explain Fabric Connect. I'm going to read it. Fabric Connect is a standards-based network virtualization technology. It enables hundreds of thousands of isolated, secured virtual networks to run as ships in the night over a single physical network. These networks can be set up and changed with ease, often without delay, so on the fly. So the use case that I'm going to talk about is the Olympics, and so ran 2014. So how many of you guys ever watched the Olympics? The challenging thing about an Olympics is that it's a huge spread out campus. That's number one challenge. Number two is you've got fun people from just about every nation that doesn't like us coming to these things. So you have hackers from every corner of the world at this thing trying to get to the network. So in this case, you know, this is one physical network with 1,500 virtual networks running over it, but you can't see them. All you see when you go there is your access point. That's it. You don't see anything beyond that. So there's all kinds of security industry type things. There's a black hat society where it's a society that meets, I think, different regions once a year. So I believe they have a summit in California where essentially this group hires hackers to come in and try to hack your network. So we participate every year. If you're using this kind of technology, it's virtually unhackable if it's set up properly. And so we do a lot of government, a lot of very secured networks. This one is a great case study. We have a ton of case studies on this stuff. We have a security site, extremenetworks.com/security. So if you ever have a customer with concern is, you know, I don't know if my network is secure, it starts at the network. And Fabric Connect is a great technology for securing a network. And we're able to, through Fabric Attach, extend the fabric out through the access points. So hypersegmentation is simply isolating traffic, isolating information. If you've got a hack somewhere, you're able to quickly isolate that area of the network. Stealth networking, I just explained, you can set up virtual networks. And a lot of the changes with our switching and routing you can make on the fly. I like this quote here from the U.S. National Security Agency. A well-segmented network means that if a breach occurs, it can be contained. The difference between a contained and uncontained breach is the difference between an incident and a catastrophe. You don't want to be that IT guy. So now we're moving from the edge to the core, and then the data center. But these are some of the more intelligent switching that we acquired from Avaya on the campus fabric switching side. How am I doing?
It's me. You got 25 minutes.
Yeah, I'm almost done. So this was a hospital in Scandinavia, again running 1,700 virtual isolated networks across one or two physical networks. You know, hospitals, hotels, they're very tough environments to secure. You'd be surprised. I mean, this is where, you know, people are creating IoT devices to get into the network to steal patient data and do other things, credit card information, so forth. So, our CTO said that the edge is the new battleground for the IT industry. That's where a lot of the hacks are coming in, and you know, we pride ourselves in securing the network. So I've only got a couple slides in data center because I know that's far, you know, it's kind of far away, but from what you guys are doing. But just know that, you know, it's insight to the infrastructure, reduced time to resolution, and security assistant with our data center products. We make very sophisticated routing products. I'm not sure if I got a success story here, but well, this is a pretty cool success story. So if you're a gamer, like I am, but I'm not a great gamer, but this is a hosting provider that has 10,000 servers. You know, the thing about gamers is they want no latency. They want to get on and play, and they don't want any networking issues when they hit your site, right? So they use our products in their data center. I just found out last week that we won Intel's data center, which is the 9th largest data center on the planet. So the products are battle proven on the data center side, and those are some of those products we acquired from Brocade in that acquisition. And that applications, simple, secure, intelligent. Our applications is really what allows you to monitor the network, monitor the users and devices that are attached to your network. We make several products on this front. I think I called out a couple here, examples for you. Governance engine. So if you're deploying phones or if you're deploying devices into a retail environment, anytime there's a credit card transaction, there's compliancy around that. There's PCI compliancy. If you are in a hospital, there's compliancy around the network, HIPAA compliances, or healthcare organization. So guess what? With these compliances, you have to report. You have to report that your network is secure. You have to report that these devices and the users, everything is secure. And we allow you to do that through our governance engine. So these are all the companies that we work hard to make sure that our products work seamlessly with some of the top manufacturers in the market right now. So, Fortinet's, from a security perspective, Fortinet's, the McAfee's, to just mobility and data center management and analytics. We work seamlessly with these products. Before we launch the products, we beta test with these companies in development. Avaya is one of them as well. The list goes on and on. So I'm ending my presentation, ending the product part of this presentation with a fun case story. So I mentioned that we do really well with schools. The Greenville City Schools use our products. And there's a quote from Beverly Miller there, but extreme control, extreme management, and our wireless and switching products, our edge products. Schools are an interesting thing. You guys can imagine. I don't know, is schools a big for you guys in Avaya? Is that a big market for you?
Huge.
Schools are tough because the administrators want the kids to bring iPads. They want the kids to embrace technology, but at the same time, they don't want one kid looking over another kid's phone, shoulder and seeing something wrong on a phone. There's a lot of, they want to administer a lot of control to the devices and the users and the environment, and our products and solutions allow them to do it. So I took our partner program update and I wanted to apply it specifically to Avaya. So we've got a lot of different promotions going on at Extreme right now. One is the fabric promotion. So one of the things I want to tell you guys is that I don't know if anybody remembers the state of the world at Avaya about a year ago. So when Avaya was going through some financial turmoil, all the competitors, like Rob Lloyd at Mitel, were going after their partner base with fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Avaya is going to go down. We're past that. So what we wanted to do is go back out to the market. So on the phone side, Avaya is stronger than ever, financially and technology-wise, coming out of the gate. And that's why I'm here. I was excited to be part of this conversation. But on the switching side, that technology, again, we're years in front of our competitors with that technology. But we wanted to go back after partners, not only to let them know we're here on the product side, Extreme's not going anywhere, we're very financially secure, the stock has tripled in the last 2 years. So we put a fabric promotion in place. So basically it's an additional 5% on top of our deal reg program if it's a fabric product. So we have great margins for partners, and it's through promotions like that that we're able to do it. We also are working with ScanSource on an IP Office bundle. I don't know if I told you that. But we worked one out in Europe where we're basically, if you've got an IP Office switch that I mentioned with an IP Office PBX or phone system, there's a discount that ScanSource can apply there too. And we're going to wrap services around it and so forth as well. So it's coming probably within the next 60 days. So the Avaya partners in the room, what we've asked our partners to do is, to apply for, especially if you were selling the Avaya networking products, sign up for our partner program. We grandfather folks into our partner program, so we've got authorized diamond and gold, authorized gold and diamond levels. We grandfather in where you're at in your Avaya program. But we'd love to have you in the portfolio, not just to sell the Avaya switching, but to sell the rest of it, the access points, the data center, and there's rewards there if you're willing to cross-sell. We have a lot of different finance programs at Extreme. I want to tell you guys about two of them. A quick commercial. A lot of times we get into a scenario where the reseller needs some help financially to get this thing across the line. So we have Extreme Capital Solutions. So basically we have leasing, right? And we have a current promotion going on right now where it's 0%, it's no payments for the first 90 days. But we also have the ability to turn, I'm afraid to press this button. Is the red button the pointer?
It's not working.
Okay. We have the ability to turn a hardware and software sale into an OpEx model, which is huge right now. So a lot of companies, if you have a business, instead of buying $100,000 in switching and phones, you can use our Extreme Capital Group to turn that into a reoccurring payment, to an OpEx payment. The benefit of that is you can cancel the contract after 60 days, or better yet, as your business scales up or scales down, you can return the equipment or get more equipment, and your monthly payment goes up or down. Great for retail type of environments where at Christmas time, they need more switches, they need more phones because they got temporary help, but then they want to throttle that back in January and February. So that's an option. And then the other one I'll tell you about is Wells Fargo and DLO. So we offer net 60 terms. And if for any of this kind of stuff, if you have any questions, again, I'm going to show you our team here at the end, but it's extremenetworks@scansource.com. We launched a new website from an Avaya perspective. So there's all kinds of great stuff on here. This is one of the best. I've been in this industry for 20 years. We have one of the best websites. I go to this before I go to our internal partner site because this one is just so good. But a lot of case studies out there by vertical, by product. So if you're in a hospital environment, if you're in an education environment, just go out there, K-12, and it's all out there. We also have an Avaya service and support page. So we recognize there's a lot of Avaya customers that have maintenance support on switches and have questions. So we have an Avaya page out there. This is our dream team at ScanSource. They're all great. We've got a great engineering team. We've got a great biz dev team. Again, so this is my last slide. So extremenetworks@scansource.com or Extreme SE to reach Tom and Lisa and Ryan. But ready to help.
So remind me, because I'm a little bit slow. What was kind of that SME space? What are a couple things you took away from the SME space? 100 or less. That's good. Key system. So it's not very sophisticated. Yeah, environments.
Has the ability to be sophisticated, but not using it.
Correct. Yeah. So that pizza shop doesn't need as much sophistication as a manufacturing plant that has 100 users, right? Or a real estate sales organization that has 45 salespeople out in the field and need to call their customers back and get their voicemail and email integration and all that. So that was the correct answer. So so what we're doing is we're moving into the mid-market now. So mid-market, if you were to think about a customer that has 500 employees, 700 employees, 1,000, 2,000, I would probably say that that's a very large business. In most cases, that's, probably a smaller percentile than you're going to find down in the SME space. So we have a lot of customers that sell in the SME space because there's a lot of opportunity there. When I was managing the state of Florida, it seemed like every sale was 250 stations, 250 stations, 250. So there's a lot of money to be made in that mid-market space that maybe a smaller system won't help them with. But IP Office scales up to 3,000 stations. So whether or not it's SME or mid-market, IP Office is a good fit for them. So what we start to look at from a standpoint, 3,000 stations, we're not going to have a square key system phone. We're not going to have buttons on the phone that show your outside lines and whether or not there's an available line. It's definitely going to be dial 9 access. It's application driven. So now you're going to start seeing, and even though in the SME space we could have call center, you're probably definitely above 100. Most companies are going to have some sort of way for customers to call in and talk to a help desk, a support desk, a sales desk, or a sales group, something like that. So you'll have more applications. You'll probably find out that you'll have Microsoft integrated with Avaya at the desktop. You're going to start to find out that that space is going to have more video. So not only can I do video and presence and email integration and all that and mobility, and that's where you'll find that kind of starting in that mid-market space, more sophisticated contact center. In the SME space, calls could come in and I could have a contact center. Please hold, all of our operators are busy, please stay on the line and we'll get with you as soon as possible. It has some limited reporting. Now when I come up into this space, I might have 10, 20, 30, 100, 200 agents taking calls, and I need more sophisticated reporting. So the way the market is sold is generally, like I was saying before, the mid-market is a more sophisticated, not sophisticated people, but sophisticated IT environments. Now you're going to have probably an IT department, people that can actually work on the system. So maintenance contracts will be written differently. Are you selling code delivery as a business partner, or do you need Avaya to do all the service, type of thing. So similar in configuration and support. You could have environments that are 101 stations or 120 stations, and they're very similar to the SME space. Or they could be very sophisticated where you're going from an IP Office V2 gateway to a server edition gateway, bringing a couple hundred locations together across the country. So it can go either way from that standpoint. Now, when we take a look at the enterprise space, you basically would say unlimited station capabilities. When he asked, are we into education, when we were talking about schools? Well, in Florida alone, where I live, we have probably 3 of the top 10 school districts. Miami-Dade, for instance, has 400 locations with over 40,000 students. That's a pretty big school system, and we're responsible for doing all of the 911. We're responsible for doing all of the telephony, making sure it all works, the maintenance contracts, things like that. And so, the Chicago school districts, the Philadelphia, I think Philadelphia might be the largest school district in the United States. And we do those type of environments. So, like I was saying to you before, can we go to 250,000 stations? This environment, in a virtualized environment, can go, I think, to 350,000. Do we have customers? There's not a lot of customers out there that have 350,000. But I was at a training last year. It was kind of a higher level training, contact center specialist that came in, and I was sitting there, talking to a specialist, and I say, tell me a little bit about the customers you support. He has a customer that has 80,000 call center agents. 80,000 people show up every day to take phone calls from places like, Amazon and Google and and places like that. 80,000 people that you have to actually manage all of the inbound calls and all of the reporting and everything that goes along with it. So the enterprise space can be just over 3,000 stations. It can be under 3,000 stations, or it could be 300,000. So we have our Aura product lines that kind of push up into that space, and ScanSource is a Aura customer. They have the main systems right in the building here. Large business, government, global. So 80% of the Department of Defense, Army, Air Force, Navy, and Marines, and Air National Guards and all that, they all have our systems. Do you think we have a responsibility to make sure it all stays up and running? I'd probably say yes. And a lot of them are those enterprise systems. So we are doing some of that sophisticated stuff. If you're in a certain space, if you're a young person out of college, and you're kind of moving into this industry, it's a very broad industry. It's a great career to have in this, because you can do so many things, whether or not it's from data networking like he was talking about, or voice telephony, or working for people like Microsoft to do email integrations and that type of thing. It's a very broad industry. Large mobility, revenue-driven, multimodal contact centers. So we did have in SME, we had the ability to take calls and your call will be handled next. We are able to take hundreds of calls in a mid-market contact center. But if I'm on social media and I blow up on Twitter, that I don't like, XYZ company or ABC company, we can sit there and monitor that Twitter feed, and we can send those Twitter feeds into a contact center so somebody can respond immediately to that kind of information. And so when we talk about multimodal, it's not just phone calls, it's not email into a call center. There's social media and lots of other types of media that's out there today that needs to be cared for. Multi-vendor integrations with Microsoft, Google, and Salesforce. Microsoft might be a call comes in and you need to pop a contact. You might need to, when a call comes in, and Salesforce is your interface that you use for customer relationship management, and we need to pop a screen of who you are, what you've done, where you've been on a website, and provide all that kind of information. We have very, very, very sophisticated call centers that when a call comes in and I pop a screen of information, I can see on that screen of information where you were on our website. First you went here, then you went there, then you looked at shoes, then you looked at belts, and then you ended up at our car site. I'm just making the stuff up as we go. But I can see kind of, and then you call and you say, you know what, I can't find a so-and-so product. And you say, well, I've seen where you've gone on the website. Let me help you. And now we can actually share screens and share content and help them fill out documents and fill out order forms and do all of that video contact center. So some pretty sophisticated stuff. And then your professional and implementation services are, or just Avaya professional services can do that, as well as ScanSource services, and then hybrid cloud infrastructure. Now, when Mark comes back after lunch and we're talking about cloud, we're going to talk about hybrid cloud. Now, large enterprises like, let's take ScanSource for instance, or XYZ or ABC company, federal government or whatever, they're not ready to take everything that they own in their data center and simply give it away to somebody else, to stick in their cloud. One, they may not be able to afford it. Two, they don't believe the security that's available. But they're just not able to do that. But they can do hybrid cloud. So we can put a percentage of our things in the cloud that will actually integrate very nicely with our premise-based equipment. So that's hybrid cloud. You'll see a lot of that if you're selling out there in the industry. So I think so that's what an enterprise would look like. And we're gonna go through convergence, but in this case, This is not impossible. I used to have customers like this all the time. Through mergers and acquisitions, you know, this company we bought had a Nortel system. This company we bought had an Avaya system. This company we bought might have had a Cisco system. And we can't afford to upgrade everything all at the same time, you know, if we're even going to do it at all. So we're going to integrate it all together, and we're able to do that. Whether or not they're endpoints or video systems. Polycom and our Scopia systems, they talk to each other. You know, can I get on a Polycom video and call into a Scopia bridge? That's the Avaya video. Yes, we can. You know, can we communicate? You know, so there's things that we can do that's very sophisticated. And then when we talk about, remember we talked about SIP trunks, analog, you know, ground start, DID, T1s, PRIs, and SIP. Session border controller. So from the phone company, there's that cloud again. A SIP call comes in, it hits a session border controller that kind of protects us from the phone company, and we look at what's coming in because, you know, hackers and all that kind of stuff. But that's something that salespeople out in the field will be selling more of, is Avaya's what we call ASBCE, which is the Avaya Session Border Controller Enterprise. And we'll talk a little bit more about Breeze and all, but that is the enterprise space, and it's not too far-fetched that the city of, or the county of, or the, you know, an organization like ScanSource would have something very similar to this. Make sense? And then there's my leaving money on the table thing. When we're sitting down, you know, with business owners, you know, are we talking about implementation? Are we talking about IPOS, which is the IP Office Support Services? Headsets. I just sold you 20 telephones, but I didn't ask you about headsets. Well, how much, you know, do you sell headsets? Do you get a little bit for every headset you sell? Yeah. I mean, that's pennies from heaven. You know, did I sell you a rack? Did I sell you the wiring? Did I, you know, sell you a UPS, a paging, a surge protection? You guys sell all of that stuff. And none of that is Avaya. But, you know, I'm not here to promote Avaya. I'm here for y'all to promote selling, you know, being better salespeople, right? Make sure that you understand. And leaving money on the table, the customer needs these things. They need surge protection. You know, lightning comes through and, you know, and blows up their phone system, and, you know, what kind of place would they be in if that happened, right? So in a lot of cases, if you know how to have that conversation, you can increase your construct and more wallet share. Make sense? Any question? Well, good, good, good.